So welcome to Season 3, Episode 2 of Suburban Bourbon, and we're kind of excited. Joe and I are down in Cincinnati, Ohio at Northside Distilling Company.
That's right, and we've got CEO of Northside Distilling here. It's so great to have you here. Aaron, tell us a little bit about yourself as well as what's the address here at Northside Distilling?
Thanks, Joe. So our address here at Northside Distilling is 922 Race Street, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45202. We've been at this location. Actually, next month we'll be celebrating 7 years at this particular location.
Right in the heart of Cincinnati.
We're right on the edge of Over the Rhine, historic, well-known district in downtown Cincinnati. A lot of fun things. We're really close to FC Cincinnati, the new stadium there. But yeah, we've been here 7 years. But we weren't always here. We're about 10 years old now. We started in Northside. It's a neighborhood here in Cincinnati. 2013, started on a farm adjacent to Spring Grove Cemetery in Northside. And on that property, we started in a barn. We started doing corn whiskey, moonshine.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's kind of where we started. And at one point in time, we had people in the Northside area that would come in and hang out at our tap room in this old barn that had rats, snakes, every critter you could ever imagine.
And your bourbon.
Things have evolved. Okay?
There's a story. One of my partners talks about being in there, and they thought they had a three-headed snake, but it was actually three snakes poking out of a pipe that was coming into the barn and so forth. But no, been around for about 10 years. Started just as friends brewing beer. So you asked, do we have beer? We don't do beer. We don't brew beer. What we found out very early on is we're terrible at making beer. We just don't do a very good job.
Well, I'm glad, because now you're doing spirits.
Exactly.
Exactly. But you have to go pre-2013 to learn more about the story of kind of how that started. And it was a group of 4 or 5 guys that had all known each other since elementary school, grew up together, went to high school together, went off to college, came back. Almost all of them moved back to Cincinnati. And before they had kids, they were getting together every Thursday night and brewing beer in a basement, in one of their basements. And what started to happen from there, they started having children. And when those children started to come along, their wives said, you can keep doing this, you just can't do it here anymore.
That sounds very wifey.
Yeah, exactly.
As you can imagine, those mornings were going till 4 a.m., 5 a.m., so forth, and no kids, you can do that and still go to work, right? So once kids were born, it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do? So one of the members said, my family has a farm over in Northside with a barn. Why don't we do that? But instead of brewing, why don't we start distilling? And so from there, and the story gets even more entertaining. From there, they decided to buy a still to distill, and they bought it from, I believe the first one was from Hillbilly Stills in Kentucky, which is still in existence. It's actually kind of exploded as well and been bought out by a bigger company, but still down there. So they bought one. Well, in the U.S., whenever you buy a brand new still from anyone that's reputable, they have to report that sale to Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, or what's the ATF? But we talk about TTB, which is that kind of operated under the umbrella of ATF. So they reported it as they were supposed to. Hillbilly Stills did. Well, then a couple weeks later, in the mail, these guys get a letter that says, congratulations on purchasing your still. What are you going to do with it?
Wow. The government is watching.
Exactly. Highly governed.
So at that time, the guy said, well, even though we're doing this recreationally or for fun, in order to be able to do this, we're going to have to form some sort of entity. So we formed an LLC and started working through TTB and through the Ohio State Liquor Commission to be licensed. And so we actually got the place licensed, and that's when we started making corn whiskey and moonshine. And at that time, it was never really a thought of making money. It was just a thought of friends gathering, just having fun, good time. and even today, that's kind of our motto. Good time. You know, we want to make money. Sure. We want to be profitable. We don't want to lose money. But everyone involved knows we're not doing this to get rich. That's just, we're here to, as you can see behind you, we're here to have a good time and bring people in, introduce them to a product, our product, but as well, we introduce people to other people's products. That's kind of who we are.
So with that, what was the first product you distilled?
Corn whiskey. Corn whiskey followed by moonshine.
No kidding.
If you remember, so we're going back 2013, 2014, Old Smoky out of Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg area, kind of had this rise or peak, and so people were into the commercial moonshine at that time, and so we did our own, and it was fairly popular. But what we found over the years, that's kind of waned off. Old Smoky has that kind of cornered, but everyone else has kind of moved on, and as we all know, this is what's popular, bourbon. So once we moved, back up. So in 2015, 2016. We get word from the family that they're selling the farm. They're going to move on from the farm. So we need a new place to live, right? A new place to work and so forth. And it just wasn't feasible at that time. Again, we're early on. We're not really looking to be a profitable company. So trying to stay in that Northside area was going to be very, very difficult with rent and lease rates and so forth. So we started looking. We found this place in downtown Cincinnati, kind of on the verge, kind of on the edge of becoming something bigger.
Yeah, which it has.
And it has,
Yeah.
It has. So we started here. Wonderful guy leased this place to us. 7 years later, we're still here. So that's how we ended up at the location downtown.
It's a great location.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right in the middle of everything.
Right in the middle of all of it. We've got easy walking, shopping, food, everything you can imagine close by. And it's not that far. We're only 6 or 7 blocks north of Paul Brown Stadium. Oh, sorry, Paycor Stadium these days.
I lived here for several years in the late 90s, and I've been down now and again. Still have a lot of friends, fraternity brothers who live down here, but it's changed a lot, downtown Cincinnati, in a good way. I mean, it was always nice, but now you have the riverfront, and then you have the connection here to UC is with really close to here.
Less than a mile away.
Yeah. It's really a lot happening here, and I should say before we kind of continue with the interview, so what you hear behind us, tell us a little bit about what's happening here today. It's kind of cool.
Oh, that is.
So it's really cool. Like a lot of distilleries, we're in the private barrel business, so we have a lot of groups that like to do private barrels with us. The group here today is one of our favorites. It's a local group. It's called the Cincinnati Barrel Chasers. They've been around for a couple years. Last I checked, they have over 1,000 members. And so they do different barrels with us, but the one that they're here to release today is one that's not available on store shelves, but is periodically available in the distillery here. It's our honey bourbon barrel, and it's been extremely popular. We sell it here in Cincinnati to these guys. Occasionally you might be able to catch a bottle out of the distillery, but it's been so highly popular. Keeping up with the production's been very, very challenging.
Hey, that's awesome. We
It's a
might
good
try to
problem.
buddy up
Exactly.
and sneak a little taste.
They're in today. I think this is maybe their 7th private barrel they've done with us. So we love these guys. They're wonderful. Hopefully you get a chance to talk to some of them later. They can tell you more of the flavor profile from a drinker's perspective. But it's something we've gotten into some finished products. We've done honey. We've done a cognac finish bourbon, a Grand Marnier finished bourbon. One of our favorites that we did in conjunction with Rookwood Pottery here in town, which is one of the oldest pottery companies in the country, but a Cincinnati staple. It's been around forever. We did a Madagascar vanilla extract that was paired with a pottery piece that was done exclusively for Northside. It's a one of a kind, never been done by anyone else. I can show it to you here. So here's the piece, and if you look at the face of it and then the back of it, this is downtown Cincinnati, or Cincinnati and its neighborhoods downtown. Don't know if we can pick this out on here, but right here is where we're located.
That is cool.
That is super
And
cool.
then you can follow kind of the river down here at the bottom.
So how did you connect with them?
We've been wanting to do something with them for a while. One of my partners has relationships over there, and we kicked around, what can we do? And this was the brainchild that they came up with for us, and it's been extremely popular. We do have a few left that are available, but we paired that with this, and that's the Madagascar vanilla extract bourbon that I was telling you about.
Definitely getting one of those.
That's a must. That's what I was going to ask. I mean, when we look at your spirits, you have a wide assortment and variety of spirits. So can you kind of talk about what you offer here at Northside Distilling? And then it's also be interesting to hear, like, on the bourbon side, what you guys are doing, because this is fascinating. But
absolutely. So you can kind of see the lineup back here. We do for retail sell all the time. We've got 2 main bourbons. We'll start there. Bourbon by far, like every distillery right now, is the most popular. It's our best seller. So we have 2 here. This is going to be kind of what I would call our beginning bourbon drinkers bourbon. It's going to be a small batch. It's 90 proof. Mash bill on it's going to be 75% corn, 21% rye, 4% barley. So that rye, which we know gives bourbon its spice, it's got just enough that you know you're drinking bourbon, there's some spice in it, but it's not going to overtake it, and it's not going to be overwhelming to a beginning drinker's palate, if that makes sense. This one, that would have been the first bourbon that we started once we were in this location. And then over the years, we decided we wanted to increase with a little more of a premium bourbon. So this is going to be a single barrel. We proof it at 108. I'll come back and tell you why 108, which is kind of a unique number. 108. It's going to have the same mash bill as this, so it's also going to be 75 corn, 21 rye, 4 barley. But this is going to be more of experienced drinkers bourbon, and that's going to be because of the higher proof that's going to deliver. But again, it's got enough rye in there that it gives it enough spice, but it's not going to overwhelm a drinker with too much spice. But we proof it at 108, and the reason we proof it at 108, that's a number that's near and dear and special to our heart here at Northside. So one of our original founders, one of the guys I told you about that was one of the original groups, name was Jamal Shatiwi. And Jamal unfortunately passed away at the age of 39, little over 2 years ago, of a very rare cancer.
Sorry to hear that. That's awful. It's awful.
And left behind his high school sweetheart. They've been married. They've been together since, I say that, I believe they've been together since the 4th grade, and 4 children. And so one of the unique things, and the story goes he was at Indiana playing soccer. His wife Lauren was at Kentucky, and he was having a good career at Indiana, but they wanted to be together, so he ended up moving to Kentucky and to the University of Kentucky and finished up school with her, where he also had a good career, but his number was 8. So that's where 108 comes. So we proof all of our specialty bourbons, unless they're requested to be barrel strength by a group. We proof all of our specialties at 108.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty cool. That's a cool
heartwarming.
Story. Yeah.
It is.
To give you a little, again, we're all about, friendship. I mean, you pour bourbon, you drink it with friends. That's the whole purpose of it, right? Socialization. And so that's what we've always tried to be. That's what we've tried to stick to as a group. And we like to tell that story just because even afterwards we try to honor them, because that's why we were created, to make sure people care about people.
It's a sad story, but it's heartwarming to hear that, what you guys have done in honor of his memory.
So you'll probably have an opportunity to talk to our production manager, Ben, here in a little bit, and I've seen him do tour after tour, and one of the first 2 or 3 questions that he always gets is, how should you drink your bourbon? And his response is, however you like it.
That's right. Amen. Amen. We
already
like him.
We always, and then we go on to say, we recommend at least taking a taste of it untouched. Yeah, neat. And then from there, figure out how you like it and drink it, because that's we drink to socialize.
That's right.
Joe and I are both the same. It's like the first time we drink something, we drink it neat because we want to try it the way it was made. And then when I'm normally out, it's like I like it with a big rock, just to sip on. or have it in a cocktail. I mean, depending on the bourbon and what I'm in the mood for. So we totally agree. That's exactly how we live.
Absolutely. So kind of continuing on bourbon, I do want to highlight a couple other things we do. We talked about our finishes with the Madagascar vanilla extract. We've got the honey finish, which is, I told you it's been wildly popular with this group. We've got a group on the Northeast coast that they will take any barrel as soon as it's finished of the honey. So wildly popular. We hope one day to bring it to the masses. We just can't keep up with the production right now to do that. There are worse things in the world, right? So
I got to highlight this too, Aaron.
I know.
And I apologize to our Cleveland Browns fans, but we got to root for the Bengals. They are an Ohio team, and
this one's awesome. So to give you a full story, this was our second release of this. So there's another label, and we'll see if we can find it. But this was year 2. So we released the first one last year during the Bengals Super Bowl run.
Brilliant, by the way.
And it was a Bengal tiger, but it was done by a world famous wildlife artist by the name of John Ruffin, who was from Cincinnati. He passed away at the young age of 95, approximately 2 years ago. But we were doing some, and I'll get to it. We do a lot of charitable work with our bourbon here in Cincinnati, but we were working with his estate. His 2 grandsons take care of the estate and all of his artwork and so forth, and we were working on some stuff with them that was going to go through the Taft Museum here related to his work. Well, the Bengals are on their Super Bowl run, and he calls me and he says, "Hey, my grandfather did some of the original artwork for the Cincinnati Bengals, and so a lot of the details in his work are the same details that are in the Bengals mascot."
wow.
And so we started talking, said, let's do something with it. So he sent over a print, we got it together, and we released it last February. It sold out so fast, as you can imagine, because we were hungry to go anywhere. We haven't been to the Super Bowl in 20 plus years, 30 plus years. And so we sold that, and it was so popular and so much demand for it that we partnered to do it again. So we released this one in September at the beginning of this past football season. This was really popular throughout the year. And if you remember, they had some white uniforms this year.
Oh, wow.
So this
You did a vodka.
So
Nice.
in honor of that. But this is all John Ruffin's work, famous Cincinnati guy, and a majority of the proceeds go back to the Ruffin estate to benefit the Ruffin Foundation to benefit what they try to do with their charity and so forth.
That's a great
awesome.
story.
Yeah.
And is that a special bourbon?
It is. So we do 2 barrels of the bourbon, and once it sells out, it's done for the year. So we have a few bottles floating around, but not very many. We'll release a 3rd one come this next September, and then this had a limited run as well. And the thought process is we want to make them available, but we want to make sure that they hold their value for the consumer.
That's right.
So they are very limited releases when we do it.
Very cool.
That is, and it's funny.
Good marketing.
I have a buddy, Todd Clark, who we're going to see after this, probably one of the biggest Bengals fans. I'm sure you need to get one, Todd. Exactly, I'm going to pick one up for you.
Continuing with you guys to talk about our bourbon, some of the other things that we really try to do. Don't know how familiar the audience is with Cincinnati, but we are a charitable city. I mean, it's actually unbelievable. We have one of the most well-funded United Ways in the country. And you say, I mean, we're nowhere near one of the biggest cities. That's one example. So Cincinnati just has this charitable thing about it. So we try to give back as well, because again, we understand we're not going to get rich doing what we're doing. We're here to have a good time, spread our product out, hopefully support, and we want to support the community because they've been really good to us. So with that, we try to do a lot of things for charity. And so this year, this is a really cool thing we worked on, and we did this in conjunction with a group called CABVI, Cincinnati Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. It's a charitable organization, nonprofit, that does exactly what it sounds like. It supports people that are blind or have visual impairments. And so they reached out to us and said, we'd love to do a bottle with you, and we've got this concept. Can we put Braille on it? Wow. So we looked everywhere throughout the country, and as far as we know, this is the first ever bourbon bottle released with Braille on it. And if you can take a fill there.
That's amazing.
Just really cool.
That's really amazing.
We did a barrel release last year for them. It was highly popular. They've asked if we could do 2 to 3 barrels this year. And so we tried to do that. We followed that up with this bottle. And this is, if you guys are familiar with Meals on Wheels. Yes. So we did this for southwestern Ohio and northern Kentucky's Meals on Wheels. And they do every November, they do their Busta Crust. Busta Crust is they sell pies for Thanksgiving so people don't have to bake their own pies, and all those proceeds go back to Meals on Wheels. So out of pure chance, we were promoting our Bengals bottle with local Fox 19 when in the green room I run into the executive director for Meals on Wheels, and she had heard about this project, the CABVI project, and she said, "What about pairing our pies with bourbon?" And I'm like, "That's pretty easy fix." So next thing you know, this year they decided to sell bourbon with their pies, and so those proceeds went back to Meals on Wheels.
Bourbon goes with everything.
I was going to say, but what's really I think that's coming out is how involved you are with the community and giving back, which is a testament to, we love great bourbon. We love, places that, provide great product. But what you're doing for the community is so much farther beyond all of that, which is pretty amazing story.
And that's our goal. And one of the things I tell people, why is the thought process behind that? When they ask why do you guys get into that? Well, one of the reasons, our original founders, when I told you they all went to elementary school and so forth together, they all went to Catholic school together. Which, if you're from Cincinnati, the first thing people ask you, what school did you go to? They don't mean what college, they mean what high school, and what they really mean is what Catholic school did you go to in Cincinnati. And so, that's one of the things that the Catholic religion teaches you, is just to be charitable and so forth. And I think, if I heard correctly, one of you guys went to St. Ed's.
St. Ed's.
We
are St. Ed's.
We've got St. X down here, I think, a few times every year. We play each other in football and so forth. But so the thought process is, give back to the community. If we're going to ask you to come in and spend $40 or $60 on a bottle of bourbon, we need to be giving some of that back to the community. We want to support the community because they've supported us. And so that's what we're trying to do. And so we've talked a lot about bourbon, but you guys ask about all of our products. So our second most popular, want to take a guess?
Vodka.
Vodka.
Second most popular.
Tried and true, vodka's always there. It's our second most popular. Bottle per bottle, we probably move almost as much vodka as we do bourbon.
Oh, I believe it.
Wow. Is your vodka just one flavor? Do you do any of the flavored?
We don't do any flavorings. We haven't gotten into that. We've talked about it, but to be honest, our vodka's been so popular. Why change it? It's just a real clean, pure vodka. We distill it. We advertise we distill it 7 times. We actually distill it 8 times.
What's that proof?
We proof it at 80.
Okay.
So easy drinking. I drink our vodka exclusively, not because I would love to tell you I drink our bourbon exclusively, but there's so many good bourbons out there that I drink all kinds of bourbons. But a few years ago, once we really refined the vodka process, and I'm a vodka drinker, I drink vodka exclusively from Northside now. It's going to be really neutral. Again, we distill it. We also carbon filter it twice. And what's that do? It takes all the impurities out of it. And we really focus on water. You'll see on any given day if you walk in here, we do a lot of filtering by hand. So you may see hundreds of Brita, not hundreds, I'm exaggerating that, but you'll see Brita pitchers everywhere. It's because we're just making sure right down to every ounce that goes into any of these products that it's been filtered and before we distill it, proof it, all those factors going into it.
We noticed on your site you have 0 chill filtration.
That's correct. Yeah, so here's our vodka. It's going to be at 80 proof. We're really proud of it. Our next most popular one is going to be our gin, and we do 2 different versions of gin. We do, and it's going to be more of a multiple botanical-based gin instead of just juniper berries. When you think of Grandpa's gin, heavy juniper, we tried to introduce more botanicals. So we've got about 10 different botanicals going on in there. Anything from lavender to earthroot to orange slices, different things. So it's going to give a really refreshing taste to it. So then we got creative, and Ben Chazon, our production manager, he did a really cool thing, and he said, you know what, why don't we age this in some bourbon barrels? So we have a barrel-aged gin, which has been really cool. We age it for at least 6 months.
And look at that color.
Yeah, you're going to notice on it, you get a little bit of a gin flavor with it. Or sorry, a little bit of a bourbon coloring with it because it's pointed off the barrel.
Yeah, that's pretty unique, don't you? I thought it was a rum when I didn't read it from here, and I thought, oh, it's a...
And this is going to be proofed at 93 proof. Why 93? So our gin by far is the most unique thing we do here. It's going to be different than any other gin that you taste. It's also going to be different from the last batch we did. No two batches are ever the same with our gin.
Why is that?
Just the uniqueness. It's kind of like a really good baker. We're not necessarily measuring out everything exactly every time on the gin when it comes to the botanicals. So you're going to get a little bit of a different profile each time. But you're going to still know it's our gin, if that makes sense. Yep. So with that, we wanted to... with that, we wanted to do something really unique with the proofing. So we went 93 proof because we just thought it was odd, kind of bizarre, but fun, if that makes sense to show you. But we proof our agave at 80 proof. And right now we're currently sold out here.
I was going to say it's pretty popular, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's been really popular. You know, the unique thing, we have to call it agave because we don't want to get that cease and desist letter from Mexico.
Exactly.
But it's made with 100% blue agave. Proof it at 80. It's going to taste just like tequila. It's going to be kind of a higher end tequila taste, really good. But
it's a Blanco.
It is a Blanco, but we also have an Añejo. So we decided to do the same thing. So we did a barrel-aged agave. We have to call it a barrel-aged agave because for the same reasons we can't call our tequila, or our agave tequila. It's been aged between 2 and 3 years. So what you're going to get with it, and if you're a pure tequila drinker, you're probably going to say, got a little too much bourbon flair for me if you're a Blanco drinker. But if you're into the reposados and the añejos, you're going to really like it because it's pulled a lot of that bourbon flair off the barrel.
I'm going to tell you, and I got introduced to tequila probably about 5 years ago, and my friend Michael Slama that introduced me gave me a Casamigos Reposado, and it was at that point that I realized what the difference is with Reposados and then Añejos compared to a Blanco. So I prefer it, and I know that you've got your own
Yeah, I'm not as
tequila.
much of a tequila drinker as you are. I mean, I think it goes back to high school having bad tequila,
exactly,
right? But now, I mean, like your product, others that are quality, I have come to appreciate. I always have appreciated it. I can actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
No, I understand. Same here. I go back to those old school tequilas that
they will remain nameless, but we know who they are.
I know.
Matter of fact, I was just on a golf trip with some buddies, and before this kind of tequila trend hit with the higher end tequilas, we used to pass around some pretty bad tequila shots. And he just brought me a bottle of one of them.
What kind was it?
Pepe Lopez, $6.95 a bottle, $6.95 a bottle. And he said we pass these around for birthdays, Christmas presents, and I invited him on the trip, and he's like, "Hey, thanks. Here's as a thanks for inviting me. Here you go."
As only friends can.
Exactly.
I fully anticipate that my great-grandchildren would probably still have that bottle unopened. It'll be in the liquor cabinet that long.
What was he thinking?
But much like you, I struggle with Blancos. And for me, like everything that we do with bourbon, with any of this stuff, smell plays as big a component as taste. I have a hard time with tequila smells because of it takes me back to way back, we'll say 21, right? Just to be safe, in case my parents are watching.
But that's the difference with reposados and añejos. A good reposado and añejo, that is muted to a large extent.
Absolutely. So where the blancos I struggle with, I have no problems getting into our barrel-aged agave, which would be the equivalent of an añejo now. And all we do is take our agave, our blanco, and we age it for the particular batch out right now is 2 or 3 years. I'd have to look on the bottle, but it's been really popular. As our barrel-aged gin that I told you about, we sell more of it out of the distillery than we do our regular gin, which has been really popular. And this just actually hit the shelves in Ohio last month. So we're excited about that, the barrel-aged gin. You can find it along with all of these products, minus we don't have the barrel-aged agave on the shelves yet. We're working on that.
Very nice.
And then are these three. So
I was going to say, I love the moonshine bottle.
So this is rum. It's a clear rum. We brought it back last year. It's not something that we do every year. We kind of play with it. If we want to do it, we release it. Like everything, rum was prior to immigration of the Irish to Scottish folks and so forth. Rum was most popular in the U.S. It's just not very popular here now. You've got some old school people that drink it, but we do it. People like it. I will tell you, it's very good. I'm a rum drinker. I love a good rum and Coke every now and then, or throw the rum in some other stuff. But it's done well. And then these are old school. This is the moonshine.
Please show for our audience the bottle.
I love the handle.
Fantastic.
I love the handle.
And this is so old school. This will tell you the last time we did moonshine. This is some of our original branding. And we've since rebranded to what you see here.
Nice.
And what's the proof on that?
80.
80? Okay.
80 proof.
It's nice.
And then the last one, this is where we started. Corn whiskey. We don't bottle our corn whiskey anymore. All our corn whiskey goes to our bourbon. So it all goes into barrels and we age it now. But
so is that
this is
a scotchy sort of smell and taste, or is that just a true?
It tastes like, it smells like grain alcohol.
Okay.
You can take
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
What proof is that?
80.
Okay. Good. Very nice.
I think that's the lineup.
I'm amazed by this lineup. I mean, it's like, where do you start?
This is I love this bottle.
I know.
This may be your purchase today.
Exactly. That's cool.
The interesting thing, we have a bunch of stuff we can show you that just was failures. Like everyone else, not everything we make works out. People ask what happens when you open up a barrel of your bourbon and it doesn't taste right. I said, you can come down and watch us dump it down the drain. Because if it doesn't meet our quality, we're not going to put it out. We're not going to let anyone touch it. Same way with a lot of these products. If it doesn't meet what we've set as the bar, we're just not going to put it out. And we've had a couple projects that we've tried to do with local breweries, where we would almost take what they've had. Like, for example, one of the local breweries had overcarbonated beer. They called us up and said, "You want to try and do something with this?" So we tried to reverse engineer that and turn it back into essentially liquor. Complete failure. We bottled it. Nobody really tasted it ahead of time. They bottled it. We cracked one before releasing it. We're like, get rid of it.
Yeah.
We kept a few around, which a couple people did like, but the majority of everyone's like, that's got to go away. But we like to play. We're small enough to play and experiment and see what we can come up with.
So what's the process like when you have a barrel? What is the process like for you to determine that quality control or that process of determining if the barrel is good enough or up to your standards?
Typically, it's a team effort. If anyone has any questions about it, usually it starts with Ben, and if he has any issues or questions about it, He'll say, hey, what do you think about this? And then we'll kind of run it through. And if it just doesn't taste right or smell right, we err on the side of caution and discard it.
Says a lot about Northside, though. I mean,
Absolutely.
you know, from a quality control perspective, that's good. Very good. Well, I'm excited to start trying some of these. What about you?
I agree. I think it's time to crack open a few of these bourbons and other spirits and see what Northside.
I've had a lot of alcohol in my years in Cincinnati, so I like to think this is kind of coming home and continuing that trend. Well, hey, it's been a pleasure talking with you, and I guess we're going to get to know your
let's see if Ben's available.
Perfect.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. All right, you're back here at Suburban Bourbon, and we've got production manager of Northside Distilling, Ben. So good to meet you today.
Thanks for stopping
And
in.
tell us a little bit about what you do here at Northside Distilling.
We all wear a lot of hats. I started off in our kind of our sales department, and kind of about almost 7 years ago, and kind of worked to get these products out to market, get into all the Krogers, the Giant Eagles, and things like that. And then as we've shifted over the years with the pandemic and things like that, we've lost some people, we've made some changes, so I've actually shifted into less into the sales and more into the production and actual distilling. So everything that we put in bottles has come across my desk, so to speak, and we do a lot of different things, and we keep it very interesting.
And we appreciate you giving us our time today. He is doing double duty as Mr. Mom today. He has his daughter with him, and as dads with daughters, we get it. His is a younger one.
She shows, she's a short,
That's
so she's
okay.
back here, but you may not see it.
We got to be tolerant. Bourbon teaches us a lot of tolerance. Let me ask you this: if you're describing Northside to a consumer to want to try something, what would be the one thing you'd want them to know about the product?
I would say that everything that we do, that we put out, that we're proud of. So there's times that we've made stuff that we wouldn't put out. So if you're buying a product of ours, we're going to stand by it. So we're confident that what we put in that bottle is good, and something that we would want to put our name in. Like the group of us that started this are all friends. We've been together. There's a lot of, Cincinnati's a close-knit community, same as Cleveland area, I guess, was where you guys are from. And so reputation is everything. So you don't put something in a bottle if you don't care for it, right? Not just to make a dollar. I know that's a lot of words, but that's kind of what I would want to portray as an image of our company and what we're doing.
And then when you talk about production, I mean, like we were talking about, it's a pretty extensive variety of spirits that you have. What's the easiest to make? What's the hardest to make? And what's that experience like?
A lot of different products, and we do some sourcing on some of our bourbons and things like that. So we do some things that make it a little bit less challenging, time constraint-wise. The easiest to market would be our clear spirits because they don't have to age. So I'm able to turn, outside of the fermentation process, the actual distillation process, we can turn gin and vodka or rum around in the same day, right? Whereas bourbon, we do source, but we also do produce our own bourbon. We don't sell bourbons to market that are anything less than 5 years old. So that's a long time. So the clear spirits, kind of the joke in the industry, that the clear spirits keep the lights on. And the bourbon is this a passion project that you wait and until it's ready. So, but yeah, they all have their different nuances and different complications. The most challenging product that we make, which I don't even have in front of me, it would be our American agave, our tequila. Very temperamental, very low yields. So that's why it's not in front of you. It's a seasonal item. But all the rest of them are pretty straightforward. The rum is the most plentiful. It seems that to come out of the still faster than anything else, so I like making that.
So when you talk about temperamental, what exactly makes that more difficult?
So in temperamental, we could be with the way that it reacts to the yeast. So the tequilas that when we were making them, we had to find like different turbo yeast and different things that would help I don't want to get too technical, but to make sure that it's ready for distillation. And so then when we would put them in our stills, some of these products, i.e. the agave, you're expecting mathematically to get X when it comes out, and we were only getting like a third or a fourth of that. And so it just becomes very costly. So not only temperamental in terms of the production and how long it takes to get such a little amount, but if you're doing all those things, all that effort, 2 weeks of fermentation, and then spending all this time to get this much, it's not the juice isn't worth the squeeze at some point. So we were the first ever to do it in Ohio. We're still very proud of that, but now we just do it in smaller amounts because we can only afford to lose so much money on something that's so cool,
So did you have a background in this?
A background in drinking, but
That is the best answer we've ever
So
gotten.
the reality is anybody then can know.
By the way, we do too.
So like I said, I started in the sales side, but when we had our other production team, I would kind of pick up on what they're doing, learning, reading some books. There are like some kind of universities you can go to pick up. I think it's actually called Moonshine U in Louisville. I've heard really good things about it. But really, everyone that's worked with us here has learned on the go. We do have a manual, like it's only a couple pages. It's really not that complicated. I think you guys have been to a few other distilleries to see the people that work there. We're not always that sophisticated. We can figure it out pretty easily. But and then the original distillers that are my buddies from high school started in the basement of their family property, and they didn't know anything. They were just big drinkers too. But they started off as brewers, and they just got bored with that. And so it was kind of the next progression. But we've come a long way. Let's just put it that way in terms of the process.
Well, what's been your biggest surprise doing this that maybe you didn't know going in? You're like, wow. I mean, not necessarily a bad thing, but something that, from being on the production side of it. What surprised you?
I think one of the biggest challenges is the QA, the quality control and quality assurance stuff. When we started in the barn, we didn't maybe think about the water we were using or the purification, like all these different things. And so you thought it was literally you turn a machine on, you wait a couple minutes, drink a couple beers, and all of a sudden you have a really beautiful, palatable product. Right. And it's just not maybe that way, right? So to get to a vodka that we sell, you're talking about distilling it 6-7 times, right? That's just a lot of effort to get to something. And so I think that maybe at the first we thought it was going to be a lot easier. That we would come to Cincinnati and open up, and people would automatically want what we were doing, and it would be awesome. And we've had to change things. We've reformulated the vodka several times, right? And we had to put our pride between our legs and say, hey, we want to do what the consumer wants, right? We put something out that we were really proud of, but the consumers said that they didn't like it.
That's interesting.
And so we reformulated it, and now our vodka is when bourbon go hand in hand for our top 2 SKUs, and you learn lessons, So if you want to stay in business, I think that would be the biggest suggestion is listen to the feedback as much as you can and put your pride aside, because at the end of the day, we're a business and we've got bills to pay, and if people don't like it, we won't be here.
Gotta do what people like.
And I think the other part too is over the last 7 years, the bourbon industry has just boomed. So like, what's it been like for you here at Northside?
So that's part of the reason we've had to kind of change our business model a little bit, is because of that boom. When we were making everything ourselves, 100% from grain to glass, we couldn't keep up with the demand, with the amount of time that it took to age, and that's when we had to start incorporating some of the MGP products, which is only 45 minutes away from here, so it's a wonderful relationship to have. And so we were able to also, that's helped with the quality control, right? So we're picking up things that we know are consistent and then doing unique things with them. But with the equipment that we have 5 25-gallon stills and 1 150-gallon still. With how popular we've gotten over the last 6-7 years, without making major capitalized improvements on our equipment, we've never been able to keep up with this. So that was kind of the biggest challenge. We had to admit that we weren't going to be able to keep up with the demand without making changes to our business model.
Well, we thank you so much for giving us your time. That's okay. That's
Sorry.
okay.
She loves bourbon, I promise. So, thank you guys. And thank you for your time.
So we're back, and the fun part is just beginning. We're actually going to be able to do the tastings now on Northside. The whole experience has been great here, but this is actually why we come.
That's right. Yeah, I know. We're going to get to try 5 different bottles, 4 bourbons in a rye. And we have David here to not only introduce himself, but also tell us about what we're going to taste here today. So thanks again for having us, David.
Thanks for being here, gentlemen. So let me get you informed here on what you'll be tasting. The first one is our 6-year single barrel bourbon. It has a mash bill with 75% corn, 21% rye, and 4% barley. All of our bourbons have that mash bill, and we make all of our finishes from this bottle here. So starting off with our first finish, we do a Madagascar vanilla extract. So So that one was partnered with Rookwood Pottery, and we made a custom clay decanter for it. It's going to be a little sweeter, and it can be used in a good cook. So our next one here is our Grand Marnier finish. It's got a little bit of an orange palette to the back of it. We like to think of it as an old-fashioned without the sugar. This one right here has the sugar in it. This would be our honey barrel. So that's exactly.
That was not available.
It's not available. It is a special interest group. They come in, they do a barrel pick, decide which ones they want to bring to their friends, and then sell it to them. And then this here at the end, this unlabeled bottle, is our 100% rye. It's not actually out yet. We haven't made the label for it, so it's not.
Very underground.
I know.
It is.
Here. I
This
feel like
is
we're
a
Prohibition era there.
yes.
So what's your favorite?
I had to say probably be the honey. I know it's kind of corny, but bourbon's kind of corny.
Okay. We like that. I mean, I think a lot of the ones we've tried, have, we like the flavored finishes.
Yes, I think they definitely provide a different flavor profile that you have and can separate themselves. But I'm just excited to try this whole lineup. So I think we'll start off with your flagship.
I think that's a good place to start.
So here we go. And what proof again is this?
So this is at 108.
This was at 108.
Yes. All of what you will be tasting is going to be at a 108 proof. That is our standard for our black and special labels.
That's good. And for 108,
That's the thing. For 108, it definitely is. You feel a little bit of heat, but it's really
it doesn't linger. That is really good. And it's reminiscent of, for people who go, we're into bourbon and you see some of those flagship bottles. I'm not going to name them here, but it's comparable to some of those ones with heat that we like.
exactly. Like Weller Full Proof, which is cask strength.
Yes.
It's got, you're drinking bourbon, but it definitely has a good finish.
That is good. What's the mash bill on that again?
So that's going to be 75% corn, 21% rye, and 4% barley. So by bourbon standards, that is going to be considered a high rye, although at 21%, it still has a comfortable, smooth finish that you get from the corn.
That was good. Good way to start it off.
Well, it only gets better.
So the next one we have, let's talk about that mash bill.
Sure. So that's going to be the same mash bill. It's that 75% corn, 21% rye, and then 4% barley. Although, in its last 6 months, we've taken a barrel of the Madagascar vanilla extract, dumped it out, and then put the bourbon in there to let it settle.
Nice. All right, let's yes.
So the difference between simmering and finishing. Finishing is not too strong.
All right. This doesn't taste at all like it's a 108.
No, not at all.
I taste zero
If you like
heat.
vanilla.
Oh
you
my
love this
gosh,
one.
this is really
Because
good.
the other part about it is a lot of times when you have an additional flavor to it, because it's not flavored. I mean, you have it in those, you finished it.
Yes.
But the flavor is just enough to give it that vanilla taste, but it doesn't take away from the bourbon.
No, it's not an overwhelming flavor.
And this is the other bottle that was being promoted with this, correct?
Yes, that is the special decanter.
It's super. What?
I love that.
That is
This is really, really good whiskey.
And I knew when you said you had me at Madagascar vanilla
Easy
extract.
for you to say.
I know exactly. Let's try that. But that is really, like I said, said, if you like vanilla, it's not like it's vanilla flavor. It's a hint of vanilla, but just enough. And you still, like you said, at 108, it doesn't feel
Not
like
at all. That's a dangerous drink. I mean, you can sip that and not know you're getting this good. That's a home run. That's my favorite so far.
Now for our third bourbon, what do we have here? This one's finished in Grand Marnier.
Yes, so it's a similar process, although Grand Marnier is a hell of a lot easier to get out of a barrel.
Than extract.
Yeah, you would think. So the Grand Marnier, it gives it a little bit of that orange finish. Like I said, it's kind of like an old-fashioned without the sugar. This is a little more poignant than the vanilla notes, and you're going to taste a lot more of the orange with it.
And for two people that love old fashions, this is something that I'm definitely looking forward to, because a lot of times, and we've often done it, we'll buy from a distillery the already made, you know, Watershed does it, Bullet, they all do it.
Sure, yeah.
Where you can just buy, hey, because when people come over and you got a bunch of people, it's easier maybe to just pour that out. But to see this, I'm definitely interested in trying that.
And this is 120.
Yes, that is actually out of barrels.
So this is coming at us.
It's coming next. Gotta be ready.
Try.
One bottle right. You got a sticker?
Yeah, you can smell that.
Although more powerful, orange is a little more of a hidden flavor. It can blend into the alcohol a lot better than the vanilla.
I gotta tell you, I don't know what you guys do, but does that taste like 120 days? What is the secret here in Northside?
No, I really, and that is, we've often commented, you know, we're not high proof bourbon drinkers. I would
Usually
say
90 to
90 to 100 is the sweet spot for most bourbons, right?
Yeah.
But we haven't. But I love when you can have a high proof bourbon and you have a good finish. You know, it's not burning you on the way. This is one that once again.
I think our message would be anyone who partakes in any of these, don't get turned off if you're like Joe and I, who like that 90 to 100, and you see a 120 or 109 or whatever. You're not getting that heat. I mean, clearly it's there, but you're going off flavor. You know, it's not being overwhelmed.
Exactly, and I would say this. You know, this has got the hint. It's not an overwhelming taste. You know, of that orange or citrusy taste, but it's enough that it really makes this a great option.
Sure. So our fourth selection is the one I think we were kind of excited about, and I don't know if we have to thank you or the gentleman behind us, but thank you for getting us.
Or thank
both.
Or thank Aaron for setting us up for today.
Yes.
Where you guys were rolling it out.
Yeah. So this is the wildflower honey finish that is not available.
Not available.
So we
know somebody. We know David.
We know people.
Ben and Aaron. So we're good.
Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Sure. So this is a special project we've been working up, and talk about not easy to get out of a barrel. Honey is quite
how
a
many
liquid.
years does it take for that to come out of a barrel?
Oh, it's like molasses. Oof.
111 proof.
Yes.
And it's locally sourced honey.
Locally sourced honey. So that is, we didn't water it down at all. Came out of the barrel at that proof. So
So this is straight from the barrel.
Straight from the
when
barrel.
You said before we drink it, you said like, how long does it take? And then what is the process to get this out? I mean, it's got to be pretty labor intensive.
It is. So we start with our bourbon, and it's an intensive 6 month process. Because especially with the honey, you cannot let the honey just sit in the barrel. You have to constantly move it, get it around, and then exit it, and put your bourbon in, and then you do that process actually about 2 or 3 times over a 6 month period. Now, the honey is then not thrown out. We keep the honey because it now has bourbon in it. And we actually took that and sold a jar of honey with this bottle.
Oh my God.
And you have honey bourbon as well as bourbon honey.
Oh my God. First of all, love the marketing. Second of all, I don't even know. There's nothing wrong about what you just said. That is a home run.
Look, we're hoping it tastes as good as it smells, but we're already off to this. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Honey's my preference.
It's a personal favorite of mine.
Honey's good.
That is good stuff.
It is. And again, you said 111?
Good
So
stuff.
again,
109.
111.
109.
109, it's a rounding error.
Yeah,
it's a
109.
rounding. How do you round up two? Come on, David.
It matters of proof, okay? Hazmat. It's a very,
Yeah, that's the
very important
difference.
number, okay?
The difference in
We've got
hazmat.
Great bourbon, interesting math here at Northside.
No frills, no pretense. Just great flavor, made to savor. God bless.
And I like
and we're doing poetry here at Northside.
Exactly, I like rhyming.
And getting a little buzz. This is awesome. That's good stuff. They're all good. I want to try. This is the rock.
And this is like I said, this feels prohibition. Like we're getting something we should.
We had a
never be able to
discussion
get.
yesterday, right? On Did You Know With Joe and Joe, which is our audio-only podcast with Andy Hurf.
That's right, Andy
From
Hurf.
Shoemakers. And he's giving us his history lesson on prohibition. And you're exactly right. This is what it makes me think.
This is what I feel like this is what he's talking about.
Absolutely.
You guys are like, look what we have.
Cincinnati was known.
So let's show the bottle for our
There's not much
audience.
to show here. It's a bottle.
It's just a bottle. This is running on faith. We have no idea what's in this bottle.
This is fate.
But let's explain to us what's in it. It's rye. It's rye.
So this is an 100% rye mash bill. So the difference between the bourbons and the rye is rye does not necessarily have as strict requirements to call itself a whiskey. So point of that is we can actually take this rye, and it's been aging 6 years in a Buffalo Trace barrel.
So you took Buffalo Trace bourbon, they finished the barrel, you buy that, you put this in it, 100%
Yes.
rye.
And you let it sit for 6 years.
And what proof is this?
That's going to be 120.
Again,
You guys,
I don't know what you do.
I've often said, I wish I understood the science behind how
Yes.
you do this, because the reality is, when you can give me 120 proof and it's that smooth,
Oh my
that
gosh.
is, like you said, it's almost illegal.
We don't.
Because it really is. It's dangerous to have this because it's really good. Now, like we both like ryes.
Does this remind you a little bit of the Boom Boom?
Yes.
Higher proof that got
Absolutely.
Cold? Oh my gosh.
That is also not released to the public yet. We actually have a business, a restaurant that bought that barrel, and so they take about 6 bottles every month.
What restaurant? Give them
I believe
some
that's,
pub.
I believe that's Prime Cincinnati.
Prime Cincinnati. Check that
Prime
out.
Steakhouse?
Get the rye. I'm going to tell you, 5 for 5, and it's very difficult because the 3 in the middle with the different flavor profiles are my favorite. But if you want straight rye, straight bourbon, your offerings are like spot on. And the price point again is like it's very reasonable. I mean, how much for a single barrel bourbon whiskey?
Single barrel is going to be $60. And quite frankly, so are the others.
There are quality bourbons at reasonable prices, and these were all well worth it.
I'm going to let Mrs. Vitale know right in advance. I think my bill is going to be big. Because now I have to get out, especially since we're from Cleveland and you're in Cincinnati. I'm not rolling in here on a Tuesday at 5.
I know.
So I've got to get some of this, and this is phenomenal. Let me ask you this: so these guys behind us, the Cincinnati Bourbon Chasers, that's what they
Yes,
call them? Or barrel
the
chasers.
barrel chasers.
When a group comes in at a place like this, at your distillery, how much does a barrel cost? Do you know?
I believe a barrel, I've seen the stipends. The stipends are about $2,500.
Okay, that's not bad. No, not bad at all.
So,
And how does that work? So,
it's a
somebody will
unique,
buy it,
it's a very unique process.
Okay.
They come to us, they basically say, hey, we have this line of credibility, this is what we do. and then they say, we would just like to buy a barrel off of you.
And they have their logo, the Barrel Chasers, on both. The
Yes.
Grand Marnier was theirs as well.
Yes.
But you sell that one.
We did to the public, and that would be our Bengal Tiger logo. That is the public release.
We like meeting good people like yourself, like Aaron, like everyone that we met here today. And I think it's fun to hear the story and you know, again, encourage people to come out and why should they visit. We may have people up in Cleveland who are going to be down here on big, you know, on a business trip, or maybe visiting their kids over at UC.
Or go and watch the Browns
Stop by
Bengals.
here.
Stop by Northside.
That's right.
Get a flight, then go to the game and watch the Browns beat the Bengals. Boom.
So what are your hours of operation during the week and on the weekends normally? So somebody wanted to walk in here.
Our weekdays are exclusively served for production. So we open on
Weekdays are.
weekdays. So our first public appearance is Friday at 4, and we go 4 to 8, and that's more of tasting room hours. And then Saturdays we do 12 to 8, and that's going to be full open bar, tours, the whole 9 yards.
Perfect.
Good deal. Well, David, thank you so much for the time today.
Gentlemen, it's
This
been
was
an absolute
fantastic
pleasure.
trying these bourbons.
Very nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you guys.
Come to Northside Distilling. Fantastic bourbon.
922 Race Road here in downtown Cincinnati, not too far from UC, not too far from the river, a really good location, easy parking. Come on down and enjoy this place. I've had a blast.
Absolutely. Big fan, 5 for 5. Gotta love it. Come down here. Thanks again.